Carl with the Breaks Music Show. On this episode of The Singles, we have Wild Opera, a heavy prog rock project based out of Great Britain and Spain. This team of very experienced musicians have been around the block, and this interview is a must-listen to for any musician out there wanting to make their mark. That interview with Ed Steele is coming up right after this.
Hi there, I want to let you know about an exciting podcast called The Breaks Music Show. So what is The Breaks Music Show? The Breaks Music Show is America's most informative new radio show highlighting the world's best unsigned artists. Be sure to find us on your favourite podcast platform as well as YouTube, Rumble, Twitter and more. Remember, every Friday is when you can hear interviews and music from 3 of the best unsigned artists in the world. The Breaks Music Show is a Grebo Inc. production.
It's the Breaks Music Show, and welcome. I'm your host, Ed Steele. Today we are joined by Wild Opera, and Steve Boyce from Wild Opera is joining us today. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Hi there. Thank you very much.
All right, Steve. Now, my first question is, Wild Opera, what is Wild Opera?
The most pretentious name we could come up with, to be honest with you. What's in a name? We were dabbling with names for ages, and we wanted something that kind of tried to reflect what we were trying to do, but we threw names across at each other for days, and eventually I just said, let's go with the first one we think of, and that was Wild Opera. So that was it. I never know how to name acts or bands or anything, because the trouble is it's going to follow you around forever, isn't it, really? Whatever you do. So, yeah, that was about it.
It's Steve Boyce of Wild Opera. All right. Now, before Wild Opera came about, what did you do before that?
I was in cover band hell for the last 20, 30 years, playing covers on the circuit to make a living. I also did some session work. When I started in this game in 1975, 76, it never occurred to me to be in a cover band. I was always writing, and I realised that I was starting to miss it, the writing side of it. And I was producing other people as well. So it was, and I was helping them with their songs. And I thought it was time I started, doing something more for myself. And Chris came along. Now, Chris is my partner in this whole enterprise. He lives in Spain, and he started to send me tracks across and saying, what do you think? And could you add some guitar to it while you're at it? So, and that's how we started to work. And we built up this little repertoire of songs. And I started to realise that I didn't want to be in a covers outfit anymore. And then COVID came along and forced my hand. So that's the way it worked.
It's the Breaks Music Show, Wild Opera. Steve Boyce joining us, of course, from Wild Opera. Now, you were talking about cover band hell. Now, you were grinding and all that kind of stuff, way back when. Can you give some of the younger guys, gals out there in cover band hell, can you give them maybe some advice to help them endure?
Thick skin and lots of stamina. If you're happy loading and unloading vans at 2 o'clock in the morning, great. It's just that's the way it works. You've got to have a lot of stamina. And also the people that come out of the audience and say, "Hey, can you play that one?" And it's right way off your radar. That's the other thing you've got to look out for. I did it for a long time. It made me a living, which was good enough. And it's now allowed me to indulge myself, so that's good.
It's the Breaks Music Show, Steve Boyce of Wild Opera. All right, we're getting ready to play a song here on the Breaks, Walk on Water. Can you tell us more info about that?
This is the one song that I got to sing. Chris normally sings them, and he said to me, no, this wants your rock blues voice on it. And he said also it's a little bit risque, so he said I'd rather you sing it than me. I thought it was about an assignation with a lady, but he tells me it's actually, he wrote the lyrics about a car, a brand new car. I'm not sure I believe him.
It's the Breaks Music Show, Steve Boyce with Wild Opera. Here's that song, Walk on Water. It's the Breaks Music Show with Ed Steele. Today in studio, we have Steve Boyce of Wild Opera. Now, Steve, we were looking at your bio here. Wild Opera has been offered a record deal, and they turned it down. We have a lot of musicians that listen to our shows. Why did you turn that down?
When I was 21, I probably would have taken it and ended up suing them 10 years later for the percentage deal that they offered us. They also wanted the publishing. Now, I've got this thing about record companies not having the publishing because the publisher works harder on your behalf for the song, which is more important. It's more of a long-term investment, but unfortunately, so many people sign record deals with companies and live to regret it further down the line. And how many times have we seen that happen? I'm no longer 21, I'm 63, so it doesn't matter to me anymore. They came to us, and I thought if one company can come to us, there must be something in this. We must be doing something right. So I'll wait for another deal to come along, and if it does, then we'll look at it.
It's the Breaks Music Show. Steve Boyce of Wild Opera. All right, Steve, you're a veteran in the music scene. What advice would you like to give all the musicians out there?
Do what is true to you. Never get swayed off the path. So many times people will come up to you and say, you know what you want to do to get successful? You want to do this, you want to do that. Don't do it. You'll only regret it later. And even if you do get successful doing it, you'll want to break away from it eventually. You want to do what you want to do. So just remain true to yourself every time.
Steve Boyce of Wild Opera. And can you tell us your thoughts on the jaded musician in the music industry?
Well, that's me all over. I've been there. I've had a record deal. Would you believe 13 years ago, I was opening for Eric Clapton at Hyde Park with my band. And I saw the industry. I've seen the industry for what it is. I've done session work for names. I've actually troubled the chart compilers. I've been on records that have charted over the years over here in the UK. And it's always left me cold. And it's left me very jaded with the whole business now. It's very based on, over here anyway, probably not so much over the other side of the pond, but over here, X Factor is extremely important. And it crowds the charts, and I don't want to be part of all that. I don't want to be any part of that kind of thing at all. I want to play music that I want to play, and hopefully other people will enjoy listening to it.
It's Steve Boyce of Wild Opera. All right, song number 2 we're going to get to here is 100 Seconds. Can you set that song up for us?
Yeah, it was the first one we put out as a standalone single. We decided that we were going to do an album, and then we said, no, nobody buys albums. Everybody downloads now. So it was the first track that we thought would help break us out there, to help to push us out there. And Chris put the video together. I had nothing to do with it, but it's interesting. It's Chris's. Chris is he was quite an angry person. He had a few things happen to him a few years ago, and that's reflected. He's lost the anger now. He's just now completely cynical, and that's how he approaches his lyrics. And that's what this is about.
It's the Breaks Music Show. It's Wild Opera, 100 Seconds.
of an alternative paradigm. Watching the time pass by, tearing my heart clean out. I can't sleep tonight, barely breathe a sigh. Several wonders fall, and worlds collide. Open seconds late. Forgotten yesterdays. Tomorrow's just too late. Winter gone. Do you ever wonder, as you suck up their lives, the alternative facts of a post-truth paradise? I can't sleep tonight, barely breathe a sigh. Several wonders fall, and worlds collide. Open seconds late, forgotten yesterdays. Tomorrow's just too late. Into winter gone.
It's the Breaks Music Show, Wild Opera, in the studio today, specifically Steve Boyce, and we have more from him in mere moments on the Breaks Music Show.
Hey everyone, Nikki Young here, host of the international true crime podcast, Serial Napper. Let me guide you through some of the craziest true crime stories you've never heard of. Add in a dash of creepy, spooky, and weird, and you've got Serial Napper. I cover a new case each week, some of them unsolved, so I also host a monthly chat where we go through the evidence, the suspects, and theories. You don't want to miss this. Serial Napper is available on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
It's the Breaks Music Show, Wild Opera, in studio today. We're talking with Mr. Steve Boyce. And Steve, you were talking a little while ago about songwriting. Can you give more detail on your songwriting process?
Chris starts them over in Spain. He comes up with the skeletal track. Luckily, we've got matching studio setups. We both have the same software that we use for recording. And it makes life so much easier. He'll come up with an idea, he'll throw it across to me as a rough mix, and if I say, yeah, we'll go with that one, he'll send the basic bare bones tracks over, and I will add to them and subtract from them and add bits like vocals and come up with some ideas for him. Say, well, why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? Lyrically, it's all Chris. I think I've contributed 2 lines of lyric in the entire process. But aside from that, it's purely Chris. Musically, I tend to shove a bit more towards him and say, why don't we try that? Why don't we try this and give that a go? And he's not precious about it. He'll just say, yeah, let's do it. You know, if it feels right to him, he'll do it. And I've known Chris for 25, 30 years. I mean, we were both in different cover bands. And then he moved to Spain, and I never thought I would be making music with him again. But the technology of today, we can do all that, which is wonderful. So, and we both adopted this stance. He said, what sort of stuff do you want to be able to do? And I said, well, I'd love to be in a prog band. I've always wanted to be in a prog rock band. And he was a soul singer originally, and he's adopted this new stance with his vocals, bringing soul to the prog hard rock thing. And he started listening to bands like Dream Theater and all that sort of stuff and said, do you know what, that's the kind of direction I'd like to go in. And I said, sure, I can't play like that guy, but I'll give it a go. That's where we've taken it. That's the whole writing process is very much. I prefer to say 60-40 in Chris's favour, but he always insists it's 50-50. So that's very good of him. I think that's very big of him actually. But yeah, we get our hands dirty as we record, basically.
It's the Breaks Music Show. Steve Boyce of Wild Opera. All right, now the next question here. Who handles the video creation, which is, well, excellent, by the way. Who handles that?
Chris does most of that as well, because by the time the track's left him and I spend a few days working on it, he feels like he hasn't contributed anything. So I let him do the videos. He's very good at that. The only video I have done is the one that we've got called Traffic. And I came up with the idea, and my future son-in-law, who's currently living with us with my daughter, said, I'll help you with that. And he edited it all for me, and it turned out really good. I don't know if I want to go through that process again because it's long-winded, and Chris can have that job as far as I'm concerned. He's welcome to it. It's a long to try to get all the things in the right time span along with the music, the changes and everything. It's a tough job, but like I say, Chris does that very well.
It's the Breaks Music Show. Steve Boyce of Wild Opera. What's next for Wild Opera?
We're just going to keep doing more of the same. I mean, we've got an album in the can. We decided to put out a new track every other month so that people can hear what they're getting and hopefully purchase it, because we've got it on all the usual platforms. And then we're going to withdraw them all and put them out as an album. I'm not sure that was the original plan. Whether that happens or not now, I don't know, because I'm not sure that people listen to entire albums anymore. I think people just like taking tracks that they like, and that's it. So we're just going to keep doing what we do, but not repeating ourselves, hopefully, because every now and again, Chris will throw me a song and I'll say, we've already done that idea there, we should change that. So I want to keep moving it along and making it different every time.
It's the Breaks Music Show. All right, All She Wants is going to be the third song we play here. Can you cue that song up for us?
Yeah, All She Wants. Now, this was the one that Chris played me some time ago. It was at the end of last year. And I played it to some friends, and they said, are you sure you should be putting this one out? You're going to upset a few people. And I said, no, it's actually it's not against women at all. It's about all the basic things that women want, and well, as far as we can see. We believe that we're actually bigging women up in this whole thing, this whole process. So I don't think the song is going to upset anybody at all. But and in fact, so far nobody has said anything. One person said something about it and said, "Oh," and I think that was due to the video, the original video we put together for it, which was somebody said it looked like a second-rate porn film, but I'm not sure about that.
It's the Breaks Music Show and Wild Opera, All She Wants.
She could be a princess with a prince in every room. She could be a teacher on a sunny afternoon. She could be a hooker for $1,000 a night. A street gang warrior itching for a fight. She treats you like a fool, make you lose your cool. She'll laugh at you. She'll run you round and round. You'll do anything she asks you to. Anything at all. She don't like it and she loves it. She don't want it, she just needs it. She don't like it and she loves it. She don't want it, she just needs it. She could be a stripper, beating off her clothes. She could be a victim with a busted nose. She could be a groupie, running out of groups. She could be a movie star, lighting up the room. She treats you like a fool, make you lose your cool. She'll laugh at you. She'll run you round and round. You'll do anything she asks you to. Anything at all. She don't like it and she loves it. She don't want it, she just needs it. She don't like it and she loves it. She don't want it, she just needs it.
She could be a soldier in a gasoline war. She could be a junkie itching for a scar. She could be a rebel, lost without a cause. She could be a slave, down on all fours.
It's the Breaks Music Show and Wild Opera. Steve Boyce in studio tonight. All right, Steve, before we get out of here, first of all, thank you for joining us today. And how can we find more info out about Wild Opera? Where can we find merchandise? Where can we, listen to your music, buy your music, and all that good stuff?
We haven't got around to the merchandise yet, but we have our own YouTube channel, just called Wild Opera. We have a Facebook page just called Wild Opera, and I think there's an Instagram as well, but I don't get involved in that. Chris does all that as well. I'm quite sort of, I'm a bit of a Luddite when it comes to all that kind of thing. Facebook's my limit, and the rest of it I don't get involved with. But Chris certainly does, and so I believe they're all available, and all the tracks are available on Amazon, iTunes, all the usual suspects, and they can be streamed on Spotify and Deezer and all that stuff. So, yeah.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Wild Opera on the Breaks Music Show. More coming up in a couple of minutes. Calling all unsigned independent bands and musicians. The Breaks Music Show is looking for you to be on our show. The Breaks Music Show is a new podcast that features one artist each week in their own 20-minute interview segment with 3 of their songs played on air. Hosted by yours truly, Ed Steele. The Breaks Music Show is positioned to be the best podcast for unsigned artists worldwide. To be considered for the Breaks Music Show, go to breaksmusicshow.com. Click on the Give Me a Break tab and complete the application. Also, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and subscribe to our social media channels and mailing list. The Breaks Music Show is a Grebo Inc. production.